Welcome to the bunker. Join Nikki, Rosella, Robert, Kayla, and Cole Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time as we traverse the portals of the universe. Discover the secrets of the cryptids. Uncover the truth of conspiracy. And explore the hauntings of our world. And once again, welcome to the S4 Paranormal Bunker.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the S4 Paranormal Bunker. Tonight we have a retelling of Rosella's adventure. So, yeah, that explains the title a little bit better. Because as you guys have been talking about this over the last couple weeks, all I could think of was that they turned it into a meme. But it's what the hell is his name? Bilbo Baggins as a young man running off with the map or with the contract in his hand, and it says, "I'm going on an adventure." So that's all I've been imagining. So,
well, it was an adventure.
That's for sure.
To say the least.
but let's start with, how's everybody doing?
I'm
hanging
here,
in
I'm
there.
alive and tired.
Okay, I'm going to agree with Nikki with that one. Good to know. I actually had a reading party today from 11 a.m. to 8 o'clock when I texted Nikki leaving. And I'm like, oh my God, I can hardly see straight. I did 10 readings today. So, and then tomorrow I have one like at noon, like a client at my house. And then Saturday, I'm actually going to be at Poland's Farm in Kettering, Ohio, for a psychic fair, my busiest day of the year from 11 to 4. And my schedule fills up like pretty much at 10:50 a.m. I am filled up for the entire day. Last year, my daughter was helping me, and people were offering my daughter $350 to bump somebody from the list. And
Damn.
I had to tell people to stop doing these immoral things, saying immoral things to my daughter. I'm like, how would you like it if that was you? So I kind of taught her to say that. But yeah, and then I sell my book too at the same time. So it's a crazy, crazy week. Then May 17th, I'm going to be at Old Mason Winery, and that is sold out. I'm doing readings there from I think 12 to 4. And then I'm in the Greenwood, Indiana at the Haunted Shop. Corey runs. She's really awesome. That's a married couple. They run their own all year round Halloween store, and they're an independent, so they're not affiliated with any kind of chain. It is just them. So I try to promote them whenever I can. And she's having me in, it's like May 30th or 31st, whatever day that is, a Saturday. And she only had 4 slots left about 2 weeks ago, so they might be gone. But if anybody's interested, you can call Corey and book one. So just crazy busy time of year.
Friend, we've had quite the last couple of weeks, friend, but everything's starting to calm down.
Good.
I want to give my condolences to all of my fellow Catholics.
Oh, yeah.
There is no other way for me to say this. He was by far my favorite pope. I mean,
yeah.
How many times can we say that we have a pope that, number one, has a rap album? And number two, actually admitted that aliens are real and they're absolutely welcome to join the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I love that one.
And
Yeah.
number 3 has actually been called the People's Pope.
Yeah, it's devastating.
Yeah, he was a good pope.
So, all I can say is I hope that the conclave makes just as good a choice as they did last time.
I hope that he kind of picks some kind of apprentice that will follow what his example of openness and living. And I've been afraid about this for about 2 years. So it really scared me. My husband had to sit me down when I came inside, and he was like, "You knew this was going to happen soon because you just talked about it a few days ago." And I'm like, "What? What?" And I'm going through celebrities who died. And then he told me, and I'm just instantly crying, crying for mankind in the world, and that loss that we just had. So, yeah, it's quite devastating.
It's unfortunately true that we have to bring them in as they're older, so we don't get that many years with them.
Yeah, it's it's a slippery slope, right? Because if somebody was really that, that great, and he did actually have more years than I thought. I mean, I told everybody it was his last Christmas. When I watch it live every year, and I was like, it's a shame that is his last Christmas, because I knew right then when I saw him. I was surprised he actually came on at Christmas to do that. So that was good.
And then he did the Easter morning.
Yeah, my husband told me, but I missed that. Yeah.
And he looked quite cheerful, so.
How wonderful is that?
Right?
Yeah.
I'm very happy
and if
we had
anybody,
him.
That is true.
Especially since we've had some questionable ones before.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But he was one that, since he came into being, I haven't really had that many questions about him. Everything that he has said, I've loved. So.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah. And who can say that much about something, a pope really too, that you can really say that, in your whole life. Yeah. Yeah. It's so sad.
But.
Well, and if anybody's ever interested, there's, I know that they already did a special mass. I watch, I think it's called The Shrine. I was trying to look it up of the things that I was subscribed to. Yeah, so, this one, it's called National Shrine. And they did a memorial mass for Pope Francis, April 21st, so you can rewatch that. It's on YouTube. But I really like them. They're actually out of DC, and it is a shrine dedicated to Mary. Huge basilica church, just massive. But I like them because they have 7 different priests that usually they'll have a guest that sometimes does mass, but they'll also have sometimes a few different people speak and do a sermon at this, just even during one mass. And it's also quick because it's only 45 minutes because my children never want to stay still. So when we can't go to mass here, then I always watch it at home. But they also have really great, those traditional hymns that we were raised with, kind of in the 80s. So it's really nice. If anybody's interested, just look it up. It's called the National Shrine. It's outside of DC.
I'm not going to lie, you are a way better Catholic than I am.
I always don't get, because I will forget a lot, seriously. But my kids go to CCD, and we go actually to West Milton because it's kind of closer than going all across Troy because of all the traffic lights and stuff. And they're really good. But when we can't go, I try to do that, especially on Easter and things like that. Because nowadays I can't just drag them out of bed because they have games and things like that the day before, so they're exhausted. So it's just, been like that the last 2 years that we've watched Easter Mass from home. But the guy had a remarkable Mass on. Of course, we didn't know that this was hitting us kind of, the next day of the Pope, but he had just a really great sermon, giving you like a whole experience he had from a trip in Alaska, because he actually was 24 years old, taken up before he was even like, kind of deemed a priest. And this other guy they were in like school together. He said, "Hey, you want to come with me? Because I'm helping this guy up in Alaska," because he was from Alaska. Put him in a little plane and they almost died. So his experience up there, knowing that they might have only had 3 hours to live, is his whole sermon, and relating it to the world today and why Jesus came here to, save us from sin. But he relates it all back, and it's just so interesting. And it's so funny because I literally said some of the stuff that he said the pretty much night before to my husband. Like, what if Jesus did not come? What would our world look like? And that's what he talked about in a lot of it. So if you guys are interested, anybody out there, if you're Catholic, it's just very remarkable. Even if you're not, and you just like to watch other religions think, like things or remarkable speeches, it was just great, I think. So
Nice.
I even had my kids actually watched. Oh my God, that was a miracle.
The Catholic religion, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, and S4 are all very miraculous things. And altogether, they just gave me the biggest gift I've gotten this year. And I'm not going to lie, I've gotten some pretty amazing fucking gifts this year. Okay?
Jeez. Whoa, calm down.
Just saying. I got a 9-foot poster, 9 foot wide, of Bigfoot. Of Bigfoot laying in a sexy pose with a rose in his mouth.
Oh my God.
You guys will see that next week. It's great. It's great.
I was like, what is this?
So,
I see
Andy's got a little raccoon buddy. It's awesome.
But they just, like, everything together, this whole conversation just won me an argument. Because me and Kayla have been arguing for months about when the week starts. And
Sunday versus Monday?
Yeah, she says it's Monday. But here's the thing.
It's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. God rests on the seventh day. What day is the seventh day?
Sunday.
God doesn't rest on Sunday. God rests on the Sabbath.
Whatever, man.
The Sabbath is Saturday.
The calendar.
Picking a day.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
Well, that's like, isn't it the
the week starts on Monday, okay?
No, it don't.
Whatever. Actually, my week starts on Friday.
That's
so
why it's okay on Sundays for me not to go to church, because there's work to be done.
Ah, okay.
Well, now you can just watch it from home.
I'm usually not home. I'm usually out, like, doing dump runs and shit.
Having a beer and popcorn.
Yeah.
All right, we are 15 minutes into the hour. We now have the full crew. Welcome, Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Hello.
Thank you. I'm on mute because there's a lot of people around here that are kind of loud. But
It happens.
when I got something to say, I'll unmute.
Well, the one thing I just want to... can you tell us quick about the show that you were on last week?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be about me, about what I can do, but it was just them wanting a third person on the show to basically say what, or have my opinions shared with what they were saying. So it wasn't really about me. It was just about them asking what I thought of their topics.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Not with that, no.
Friend,
Saved me stressing over what I could say and what I couldn't say. So yeah.
well, yeah. Friend. All right. What show was that, by the way, though?
That was the Rift Nation Network. It has got a name, but I can't remember what it was right now.
The Orion.
Orion Network, or Orion something or other. Yeah.
Bren, give me one
You're on
second
mute.
here.
No, Nikki, you're on mute.
Oh, yeah.
The Orion effect.
That's right.
Effect.
Okay. Bren.
I forgot I was on mute. Sorry about that.
Oh man.
All right. I don't normally go back and listen to our shows. I'm lazy that way. So,
Good reason for that.
Yeah. Well, once they're out there, they're out there. But
Well, yeah.
Rosella, have you mentioned your friend's name on the air?
My friend Misty?
Okay, yes. So, Fran, I was trying to get there
Yeah,
without
he's
actually doing it on purpose.
She's mentioned
Yeah.
her.
Okay. So we can talk about her and her name, and that's okay.
Yeah, so she goes underneath Misty Parker. She's an author as well.
Okay.
So she writes paranormal pretty much now. Novels, paranormal romance, thriller, murder kind of things. But she also has 20 specifically romance novels. And she's pretty big in Kentucky. She's from Kentucky, Louisville area. But yeah, she's a part of Imaginarium. If anybody's in Kentucky, she goes there all the time for this huge convention called Imaginarium. And a lot of authors talk. There's authors, podcasters, things like that. You can get information if you ever want published. So kind of interesting, but she does a lot of work with them and a romance novelist group there. So she lets me talk about it to kind of help her out too. We help each other and market each other a little bit. And then my podcast is A Haunting Good Time, and she's always on that with me when we investigate. So sometimes I'm asked and paid to go and do an article on a place and see what I find, kind of thing. And sometimes we just go on our own because we're curious. So curiosity does kill the cat though this past week. So
Yeah. So let's talk
Yeah.
about your last adventure.
Back.
Okay, yeah, and I had texted Nikki one night because I was just I was losing it scared. I usually don't get scared, but something particularly as a psychic medium kind of did freak me out. So I will kind of go through. So first we went to actually Buxton Inn, and that's in Grantsville, Ohio. Really nice place, owned by a very nice man. One staff member was not kind, but the other people really were. So that was really great. But we went in immediately. The owner was so nice to me because he saw us taking pictures at the front of the hotel and took a picture. He got out of his car and stopped his car and took a picture of us. He was so sweet and walked me in because I told him I was doing an article. And I'd been trying to go there even before COVID, and just life got in the way. So was really happy to go. It's I think it's like 4 buildings on the property, and it was an old I think plantation kind of house setting, and it looks like it's from the South.
Yeah.
South Carolina kind of deal, that area, Charleston setting, really beautiful. And everything's pretty much original. The owner, I think he bought it in 2016. He gutted the whole thing and redid it. So it's modern showers that are majorly epic. I mean, the shower was really cool. And we stayed in room 8, which they did say had some haunting experiences. Though when I walked in, it was completely clear. And I was happy for that. As you guys know, I don't like them sleeping over, when I'm sleeping and they're hovering over me. I'm like, no, I will go investigate all the other haunted rooms. Do not follow me to mine. This is Rosella's rule. But our room was so beautiful. It was nice. We had 2 beds. Huh?
But you're in their room.
Yes, that's right. You're right. So I came in and I was like, all right, please, if you just exit for the night.
But you're in their room, so they have every right to be there.
Their territory. Yeah, I got told that there's a haunted cat when we were kind of checking out. So when I go in, I don't do any research on properties. I don't do any of that because then I'm already kind of preordained to stuff. And I can't stand it when people kind of like tell me some things. So it's like, no, don't tell me. I will tell you what I see. If I see something or have an experience. And then, like at checkout, it's like you can tell me then, like your experiences and stories, or other people's. And so this one girl did when she checked us out. I think her name was Amber, but I can't remember. She is really nice. But when we first walked in, there's my favorite painting is actually called Flaming June, and I have a picture of it in in my house. And they have this beautiful bar that had the painting, like someone had like painted it on there by hand and kind of like did some extras like kind of on the side. But this bar was just epic, really huge, gorgeous place. I mean, if you had a cocktail kind of hour or like, just they used it as a bar every day, that hotel, I think they'd make a lot of money because it was really pretty. Kind of set up like very, loungy style. Really sweet, really great environment. Well, I walked in and Misty and I started looking around and she's like, do you feel anything? And then this guy came in. He was the negative guy, and started talking to me, actually trashing psychics, to be honest. And I was like, don't put me in a part of the fake, the people who come in here and say that they are this and that and want attention. Like, don't do that with me. And kind of like Misty and I were a little afraid of him, so we just didn't speak that much when he was around because he just kept saying negative things. But while he was doing that, and I was kind of trying to ignore him, I turned around and here was a man dressed in a black suit. Just like he was sitting there with a cigar. I wouldn't say that he had it to his lips or anything like smoking it, but he was holding it. And he was in the corner of this room. And so at the very end, I was walking out and I said to the negative guy, has anybody ever told you that there's this man in that room? Has anybody ever seen him? Just kind of wondering what he would say. He was freaked out. So Mr. Trash Talk to the gifted started going, oh, crap, because apparently I saw something that, was very like valid that people had seen, I guess. And I didn't know it. He just was like, are you serious? And I said, yes. So he never let on, but he looked very scared. Like his face just really changed. And he started treating me better. We'll say that. So we walked out the door, and we went to like a little winery just to have some dinner. And then the Grandsville Inn is across the street. Because unfortunately the Buxton Inn has absolutely no food, they don't have the bar or serve it anymore, I think since COVID or something. But this Buxton, across the street, literally from Buxton Inn is the Granville Inn. This place looks like a castle. It is huge. It's this luxury inn, and they have weddings. I think they're on a golf course. It is major luxury when you walk in. Huge fireplace. Massive bar, like we kind of have like a cold water here in Tip City. That's what we call like the fancy restaurant, but major fancy looking kind of a French scale. But they had a great variety of food. It was quite expensive, but we sat there and had champagne and a charcuterie board and cake, so we were happy. But the staff was really nice. But we told them about our chocolate cake. Okay. That's good. We told them about my experience that I had. The staff that was waiting us on two women at the bar, and they were really nice. Right away, I kind of knew that one was, let's just say, gifted and trying to really suppress it. But it was trying to come at her. When that happens, when they'll come at you, like I'm sure Nikki and Robert, they come talk to you at night, so you can't avoid, and she was having a lot of that and had gone through, I think, a few boyfriends who had experienced her waking up to, hear and talk to these things. So she was kind of like, what do I do? I'm trying to suppress this. How long can I suppress this? And I'm like, good luck with that, because it really worked out for me. Hence my novel, The Haunting at 2095, because that's what it's all about, like how you can't suppress it, right? And I just kind of, I gave her some words of wisdom and advice, but she was saying that what I described, the man in the corner, was what everybody says. And she's like, I've never been in there, but people who come across the street always say that they will see this man sitting there, just like you pictured, and it's in that bar. And I was like, oh, okay, I never knew that. Well, then she also said that there was like a cat that people experienced. So, and Misty loves cats, where I'm not a cat lover. I'm the dog person. So she was like, come sleep with me, kitty. And I'm like, no, nobody's coming to my room. No. So I had to say we had some good luck. We in the room, like for me, perfect.
Was
not
there anything
any
in the
kind of
room?
experience.
No experience in the room?
No, nothing. I was really like happy about that because I just wanted to sleep. And I have to say, I took my Benadryl pill because my allergies were terrible and I was out. So I woke up and I was like, did you see anything or experience anything? She's like, no. So we left the next day.
Me and Kayla would not pick that room.
No.
Not a fucking
you guys
chance.
can have the haunted room if you want.
So it's showing me room 7, room 8, and room 9.
Yeah, so we were in 8 and we didn't have anything.
Okay.
And I was being told that was not right about room 7 and 8. It was only room 9 when I was there.
So
by the spirits.
The mirror in between the two beds, Kayla would fucking hate.
Yeah, no, not happy.
And I can't stand having a headboard against a window.
Yeah, I was surprised that the window didn't bother me because they had pull down shades. And I was surprised. I thought that I'd wake up because I kind of am a person, I'll wake up to any light. And I was pretty good. So it didn't really bother me that much. And I'll tell you, the mirror, we weren't there that much. Like we came back pretty much just to sleep. And I got ready in the morning. So I was in the room the whole morning while Misty went in to go get breakfast. So I was by myself for probably a good hour and a half. And I didn't experience really anything.
But everyone,
I will say that
everyone told you it would only be in room 9 that you would experience something?
The spirits told me that.
Yeah, you know what? That would make fucking sense. If you could see the wallpaper in this room, I would fucking scream to the world if I was a spirit in that room. Because that is the loudest goddamn wallpaper I've ever seen.
I saw these 2 people go in and check in. So I think we were the only people besides these people in the place because we were there. It was a Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night when we checked in. So we were gone Thursday through Sunday. But we saw, let's just say, very loud people. You know what I mean? Eccentrically loud people checking in there. And I said, good luck, spirits. Sorry for you. So, I saw the wallpaper from the glimpse across the way.
Yeah.
But it's a very gorgeous place. I mean, we went around. It would be a really great place to have like a mini convention or small wedding. But it'd have to be small because they're very small rooms. And they say they just did a great job with remodeling it to be like looking kind of still old day, but modern enough. So it looked good. But we did go. So and that morning, Misty went over. She had breakfast. I packed up. We packed up the car. And then I went in with her and we talked to the young girl before we checked out. Like, hey, this is who I am. I have permission from the owner. Can I go downstairs to what they call the tavern part? And this is where the coachmen used to live and reside, who were slaves pretty much. But we're in Ohio, so they wouldn't call them slaves, but that's what they called themselves, pretty much. So when I was down there, and they were pretty, and we did tape that. Now, if you go to a Haunted Good Time radio show and type it in, you can hear our investigation. It's not very long in that tavern because they didn't want to talk very, very much. I kind of drugged them out, can you please, and I told them who I was. I'm always very honest. This is who I am. This is why I'm here to tell your story. please educate people about your experiences and why you're still important today, because everybody's special, so tell me. And he started talking. So it was this nice guy. He started talking to me. And then he had a friend, and I can't remember their names right now because I think I did get them, but I cannot remember because I took notes on the Lafayette Hotel because so much happened. I had to start writing major notes, and that's when I contacted Nikki too for verification. But the Buxton, I cannot remember their two names, but it was two black men who they called themselves slaves. They said that the owners were extremely nice, and I said, was that the owner, that original owner that I saw upstairs the other day? And I described to him what happened and who I saw, and he said yes. They were very kind to us on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they gave us like the same foods that they had, so they were taken care of well. And he did say that he just felt hungry all the time, though. And they were very pretty much like a sad existence. The other guy who was in the corner, he was kind of in the very far, like pretty much right hand corner. He was reluctant to talk, but he finally did tell me that his wife died during childbirth for their only child, and he lost her, and I think he said she was around 20s or early 20s, and his life was never the same. He was depressed like for the rest of his days. The other guy who was extremely
23.
talkative. 23. Yeah, I thought 22 to 20. Yeah, like 4. So that sounds about right to me. And I was trying to be extremely respectful, because they were
Just
letting.
heard it.
Yeah. Yep.
Is this
Yeah, that sounds right.
the tavern? Is that the stone room in the basement?
Yes, and it was, so it's a really fabulous like bar area, but they stopped using it. And and the guys were telling me because they didn't like it that it was there in the morning, because they wanted their privacy and peace in the morning, and they wanted it active at night. So it used to be active, the girl upstairs said, Thursday through Sundays, like, but they pretty much then they closed the rest of the week. But the guys really wanted that activity back at night. But they kept going, shh, you're talking too loudly. Shh, you're talking too loudly. And I was like, I had to speak at a certain level, though, for the podcast, the speaker to hear me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is why I'm doing it. I'm like, I went softer and softer. And then Misty was like, I can't now hear you across the room. So it's like, double-edged sword. But they were really sweet guys. But I went upstairs at the end and I said, hey, this is what they said. And she goes, well, it makes sense that they want that activity back. And she told me after COVID, they closed because they couldn't get staff, I guess. And they were only open before Thursday through like Saturday or Sunday. And because, that was the peak of obviously when people were staying there. So it made sense. But she said, we had food, we had this. It was extremely active. We'd have trivia nights. So those guys wanted it back. And there was even at points where they told us that she was too loud because she was taking a reservation upstairs right above their head and you could hear her. And he's like, shh, quiet, too loud. It kept coming through. So, because Misty always runs her Ovilus, and her Ovilus will go along with what I'm kind of saying all the time. So it was really funny. Like, can you be quiet? Can you come? Can you? But it was their kind of like peace time, and they're like, okay, after 3:00 you can be in here, kind of deal. But they kindly were like, your time's up, so they had us go, and it's like, okay, we have to go anyway because we had to go on the road. So then we got on the road. And we went to this castle. So we went to Marietta, Ohio, and it's literally like a historic castle. And we did a tour there. Had a really, really funny older lady who was a volunteer who did the tour and brought us around the place. But I have to say, really awesome historical place, but I felt nothing. I really am honest. We didn't even do like a podcast, or I didn't take any notes. There was just nothing. It was very good, clear kind of area, probably the volunteers, they might have probably taken care of all that kind of stuff. They were all elderly and just they did that for this was their fun spare time, and they were into some of the haunted stuff and told me some stories. I told them that I was like, gonna write a piece if I found anything. But just did not find anything. But it's a great place to visit. And then let's see here. We went to the hotel.
That's I can't believe you didn't get anything there.
That's
insane.
Nothing. And they actually had they like said that they were slaves to us too, but could not call them slaves, so they would call them servants. I saw visions of like a black woman stirring something in a big, huge pot, the fireplace of the past. That was not current or a haunting situation. Just a vision of the past because of my ability, the psychic ability part. But yeah, nothing at all.
That kitchen is gorgeous.
It is really cool, and they're the first one to have the vaulted ceiling. And there's scientific reasons behind why the guy did that. But he had a loft floor originally, and they had a shortage of supplies. So he actually took down the loft floor and put it onto the bottom floor to have a better flooring that would keep the heat. So in hence he invented the first vaulted ceiling in America. So interesting. And it's quite big. It's very big, and they had like gold trims everywhere. But when you pretty much went upstairs, all of the richness, like, because she kept saying you had to look rich, you had to look rich. So I'd have to say, like, compared to other houses that I've seen, to me, this house didn't look crazy, like over the top with like rich things. And they had all of the original stuff pretty much back. So when the house was originally cleared out and given went for foreclosure, I think there was a ton of death in that house, actually. Like anybody who lived there had pretty much a horrible despair, died early, had some horrible kind of tragedy. The children would die. It was really crazy. So you would think there'd be a lot of haunting stuff, and I just never felt a thing.
Well,
and she said that they do a haunting tour during October.
Looking at it though, Rosella.
Oh yeah, looking.
Some of this stuff. Okay, I agree with you. The furniture is probably a lot of it's original.
They got it all back. Yeah, most of it.
But the problem is, they ripped out crown molding and shit like that.
Well, and that's probably why it didn't look so fancy to me.
No, because that's brand new.
Yeah, so because I asked her about it, and I'm like, well, how come the crown molding looks like really different from like kind of like that era and Victorian homes, and it's just not something I've seen before in here because it was like, and she said it was plaster. I'm like, oh, okay. And she said that area did a lot of plaster. Now, the home that we visited in West Virginia on Sunday, the day we left, they had plaster too. But that home was extremely fancy schmancy.
But like, okay, so there's an upright piano in a hallway with checkered flooring. Do you remember?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a giant arch.
Yes.
That arch isn't original.
Oh, okay.
There's no way, because that wood changes color. And back in that era, it wouldn't have.
Well, and she did say that they painted some of it to look like wood to be cheaper and look fancy. It was a lot of that throughout the whole house.
Well, that's just bullshit.
And I was like, what? I mean, it was simply really, really weird. I'm like, why would you paint something and people just accuse you of, they know right away because it looks weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, the walls also had this,
it's like remodel
the original
on a budget. I swear, it's a real brick wall, and it's that funky wallpaper.
Yeah. Well, and then going up the stairs, it was just a stairwell, but it was a funky, like, wallpaper that she said kind of was like a stamping. So, like, now we have machines to do it. But back then, she was like, this comes from Europe, and this would be this, like, there was like the first kind of like wallpaper in this, and you could paint over it. So it's like that stamped stencil kind of thing. But however, it wasn't painted. It looked like it had kind of just been put up a few years ago. So maybe they did, got like the person probably stripped it out maybe after all these instances of people moving in and out, and they found it and put it back up. But she didn't tell me, but it was not painted. It kind of like, I mean, I'm not trying to say this offensively, but it kind of looked like, 2-ply toilet paper kind of thing, or you stenciled it, kind of thing. Like,
Well, okay, so I'm going to say
but it
one
was
thing.
thicker.
This happens in a lot of old houses, and especially ones that become tourist attractions. Because I've noticed it here in the Pacific Northwest. What they will do is, because of the new non-smoking laws, a lot of them are required to take out wallpapers and stuff, and they have to replace them with new stuff, and they have to try and pass it off as old.
Well, and it kind of, it looked like it was really newer and not had been painted. I think if it had been painted, it would have looked more higher class. You could pull it off a little bit. But she had it in her hand. She was like, this is what it looked like, and she went and got it.
Like,
and it was the same.
But did any of you ever go into a restaurant right before they made it non-smoking, and then come back like after they made it non-smoking, and most of the restaurants and stuff redid their walls, and you could tell the change?
I can't say I've noticed.
No?
Well, I think it's probably because we're smokers. You notice that when you smoke in an area or whatever, it gets that like tinge to it. That
yeah.
Like
all the smoke on the walls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It'll hold the smell, that's for sure.
And with a house like that, it would have had 200 years of cigar smoke in it.
Yeah,
and
that's
pipe
true.
Smoke.
So honestly, I'd have probably replaced those walls too. I'd have been like, eh.
But you have to try and pass it off as the originals. But it can't be.
It can't be. No. Not only that, but that many years of smoking in an area not only causes the tinging and the smell, but it also causes like wallpaper to peel and stuff too. So you'd have like the cut lines in it, like where it connects to the next piece. They kind of like foil away. Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense to me too, because they said that the last person who lived there was like 1976. The person died, who owned it, and then gave it to the town. So, a lot of people living in there, and they'd have to probably have had to take out that wallpaper. Could have stripped it out, even painted the walls, and now they just put it back.
Well, not only that, but you said that they died in really horrific ways, some of them. So,
God,
I mean,
they did. Yeah.
You wouldn't really want wallpaper that had, like...
Yeah.
That was bleeding?
Death on it. You know what? Like, I don't know how to put that.
Yeah, and they had, like, a lot of the death kind of stuff, because, like I said, they got a lot of the original stuff back, So, and I really hate those things, but those things that people would do those in that Victorian era where someone died and they do that stuff with their hair and make these pictures. I think it's disgusting. So I don't like it, but they had a lot of that stuff. They had original fans from this one woman. So it's kind of interesting, but they also had a story that was kind of cool that stuck out to me. It was, let's see. It was, I think it was. Let's see here. It was a royal, and it was. You guys are probably better at remembering this than me because I'm terrible at these names. But it was the guy before the one resigned. He said no, I'm not going to be king, and gave it to his brother, and then that's how Queen Elizabeth went into reign. Right. So I cannot remember the guy's name at this very moment when, of course, I need to retrieve it. But he was apparently this big ladies' man, and I think he was even positive. And so he was married, right, and was known to have a lot of affairs, and went to this actual house and was talking to the wife of the man who lived there. So the couple, just the wife alone, and she hit him with her fan and it broke. So they had the fan on the wall, like framed, and it was broken. So, I mean, I can't say that I know that that's positively true, but the woman told this story about that, and that's like the famous thing that happened in his house. So it was interesting.
It was Edward VIII.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay.
To be fair, if I had an eighth in my name too, and I was English, I wouldn't take the throne either. They don't have the best of luck.
It was, yeah, that's true. But yeah, so that was interesting. And then we went to this mound cemetery kind of quickly. So they had a lot of mounds. We went to this earthworks as well. It's called actual, like, the earthworks.
Now, are we talking like native mounds?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a lot.
Gotcha.
In that like pretty much from that Grantsville to Marietta. So we stopped at 2. Mm-hmm. And I did like a little video. So if you're on my Rosella page, I posted all the videos, pretty much like everything we did, and did a whole kind of like 60 around of the mounds. And Misty had her Ovilus on. I think it kept telling us to get out, that kind of thing. And I think it said like prayers are spiritual. And we didn't have that much time to be there. But met a very interesting woman who told us some tourist information, and she was really cool. But we went to this mound, specifically called the Mound Cemetery in Marietta. It's literally behind, like pretty much 2 blocks up behind this castle house. And they had a story about how before they made it a cemetery, and this is why they made it a cemetery, because it's kind of a gruesome story, but it was Indian territory, right? And they had settled there. And so they were still fighting over the territory. There was 2 soldiers that were supposed to, they found this mound because it's really crazy old. And they didn't know really what it was. They just stood on it and you could see outward, like, like see if somebody was coming or invading, that kind of thing. So basically like this one guy showed up, this one soldier, a little early. The other guy showed up late, and the guy who showed up early was immediately killed because he was alone. So they made it the cemetery, burying him right in front of the mound, and that hence making it the cemetery for the town. Right then and there. That's how it became that. But there's many mounds all over that territory. There was I think maybe even 18 different places all over Ohio, that area, spanning pretty far. So that earthworks was a big one. There's also the Serpent Mound. That's also a little bit a part of it, but that was 3 hours away.
Dude,
like 2 or 3 hours away.
Cool.
Yeah, the Serpent Mound, I've been there when I was young. And I never felt anything really there, but mostly the mounds were used for to mark like the moon and do ceremonies based on the moon and solstice, right? That kind of thing. So seasonal things like that. But it was really interesting for the astrology, kind of and the planets and all that all of these awesome things to do with the moon, and how they had marked it and researched all these things, and they would come together from all over. Like the earthworks woman said that there was people who came from Mexico and Yellowstone, that far, that they had found artifacts that far in the mound, pretty much because of the ceremonies. Mm-hmm. So they would take their stuff and plant it there to say that they went there, and then take stuff back from the earthworks and go back to where they were from and plant it there in certain places, just to make sure that if people found them, they knew that they were there. And this is insane, like BC time. So long time ago. Mm-hmm. So interesting. But yeah, so then we went to the Lafayette Hotel, and that's where it gets crazy. So what happened? So we checked in, And I was like, okay, this is who I am and stuff like that. I'm doing like, an article. And the woman was really nice. She was the manager, she said. And she was like, yeah, if you have any questions or if you have any experiences, let us know. And again, I do no research before I go to these places. And I should have said, give us a non-haunted room. But Rosella was stupid and tired, so she forgot. So that was not the best part. To forget that. She put us on the 3rd floor. So the 3rd floor and the 5th floor are apparently the most haunted places in the freaking building. And the place is designed very strangely. I have to say, like, it definitely needs to be, somebody needs to, like, gut it with love. You know what I mean? Kind of like the Buxton was. It looks like when you walk in, like it is 1970 and you are walking into the Love Boat. Like for the floor, like, yeah, the hallways, it's got to be, everything's like original pretty much. Except for the vending machines. So I'm like, whoa. And the bottom floor was really nice. I'd say it had a grand piano and a whole sitting area. I could tell. I kept getting a lot of stuff about brides and pictures and getting married, like, and getting pictures in that area. And they had a nice, like, kind of bar restaurant that anybody could, dress in any kind of attire, could go down there and, like, and sit. And have, like, dinner, lunch, or whatever. And everybody kind of talked to everybody. It was pretty okay atmosphere. It wasn't expensive, top notch, or anything like that.
I gotta be honest. In my head, all I'm seeing is the place from The Shining. Okay, where you walk in and it's like really nice, and then it just gets like 70s creepy vibes as you go further up.
It was totally like that. I was saying to Misty, I'm waiting for the twins to pop out at the end of the corner. Like, this is bad. Like, yep. I just couldn't get past it. And it was the halls were freezing too, so it didn't help. We were walking into our room, and Misty looked at me, and she gave me a look, and she's like, you feel something? And I'm like, yes, I'm trying to ignore it. And it was on the outside of our room. So I'm like, at least it's outside. And we went in our room, and I have to say, again, room needs major, like, redone, but it was clean. It was very clean. But it was very, very small. It was like jamming 2 beds into my den. Like, it was small. And I looked at Misty, and I'm like, she's got a lot of products and stuff. And I'm like, we should get, like, another room. And she's like, no, we can make it. And I'm like, oh, God, this is going to be so bad because I'm claustrophobic. So it does not help.
Was your room small and, like, long?
It was so jammed. I would say, I'm gonna say it was probably like I'm gonna say 14 by, like, kind of 16 space. If I'm maybe 14 by 14. It was very boxy, I would say, like very square.
Yeah. Well, okay. So they show a captain's room that. It's probably.
They had luxury rooms.
8 by 20.
Tops.
Okay.
Like, this thing is tiny.
Yeah, it's only 8 feet wide, and they've got the bed in there. You've got a foot on each side.
Jeez. Whoa. I didn't see that anywhere. Okay. It doesn't surprise me. It was just very odd spacing. Like, the designer it was very strange, whoever built it.
Yeah, it looks like each room's pretty much different.
Maybe they built it like that for a reason.
It was crazy. Well, and it was supposed to, if you look on the outside, it's supposed to resemble a boat. So when you look at it from front to back, and you can see it on their website, pictures of it / kind of Googling it, you can see it's supposed to look like a ship. Okay? So Lafayette Hotel, Marietta, Ohio. And it does. But when you're inside of it, Kayla's right about The Shining. I mean, it was really just creepy. And on top of, like, just feelings of what was there, but it didn't help with the atmosphere, let's just say. So what happened was we went out to go investigate. Like, we had dinner kind of thing at the Lafayette just to kind of stay there. And we went up and we started investigating our hallway. because we didn't want to be like too late to bother people. And it was now Friday night. Okay, so more people were kind of checking in. So what happened was this woman, I got a vision after she started talking to me. She was the one who was outside our room area in the hallway. This is a very long hallway, but she was pretty much at the end of it. And she told me her name was Erica Bailey. She was killed in 1989. She was hit on the back of her head by a brick while getting ice from a tan wooden ice machine in the hallway at midnight. She was dragged out to the river that sits right in front of the hotel at 4 a.m. Her body was put in the river and never found. The man that I saw who did this, he had long blondish hair with glasses and was wearing like a green overall, kind of, like a coverall maintenance kind of suit. And so she was alone, and she said she was married but had no children, and she was regarded as missing. She was never found.
Huh.
And back then, they kind of didn't do very much, to try to find you. So there's no internet, that kind of thing. Now, she didn't tell me which victim she was, but there was many victims, and this is all in one night that I had all of these victims come to me. And that's why I contacted Nikki too, because it was really late. I knew she'd be up, of course. And I was like, I'm losing it, because I have never had this many like freaking visions of death come to me. Normally, if somebody comes to me like for a reading, it's like they'll come to me for one specific, like, was this person killed? I'll see a vision of like, if they were killed, what happened. It's one person.
She was
This was
receiving downloads, full-on hardcore downloads, one after another.
Boom, boom, boom. It was horrible. It was so horrible.
That does not sound like fun.
I've been there.
If you guys listen to the podcast too, because we podcasted that all live, like, and I was like, Nikki, here it is. Go listen to, like, you won't believe how fast. And Misty was like, she looked at me at one point. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not. No. And it bothered me so bad. I mean, I was like, I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep.
But on top of it, I'm going to interrupt for a second. On top of it, you had somebody that you haven't gotten to yet that detrimental beyond description. I mean,
it's pretty bad. The old man.
Serial.
Oh yeah, so yeah, this was a serial killer who did kill all of these victims.
Mm-hmm.
15.
Yeah, so it's 15 people. They said it was 7 men, the rest were women. One was a 4-year-old little boy, guys. It was really bad. So what happened was we went down, like after Erica came through, we went down to the manager because Misty wanted to go to the basement, because that's us. It's like the basement, the 3rd floor, and it's 3 rooms. 3 rooms that are really haunted on the 3rd floor. I don't know how to use the thing yet. See here. How do you guys see the chat without leaving?
Give me 1 second.
Click on, so you're on a laptop, or I mean a computer?
Yeah.
Okay, on the left-hand side of the screen, it should give who your contacts are. Of course, I'm not on Teams yet, so.
Oh, okay.
Is it still the same? Is it still the same setup?
Oh, okay. Wait, I clicked on chat. Now it's saying
It should say the S4 bunker, and then on the right side of the screen, it should show a picture.
Yeah.
Or it should show the chat.
That is definitely what that's what it looked like at the end of that's where we saw Erica.
Yeah.
Really did look, that's what it looked like. Well, so then we went down to the basement. Oh, sorry, what, Robert?
I was just going to say that I've enlarged it up to the side doors and the second door up, closer to the furthest, the entryway, or whatever it is. There's something in there that I can pick up.
Well, that's the 2nd floor, I think, because it's numbered 234.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so all the hallways looked like this. It was very strange, like very small hallways.
Out of date.
Yeah, and with the smallness and the out of date, it just was so freaky. But that Erica said she was traveling by herself and she was on a business trip. She showed me that she was black. She had black hair. She had her hair like kind of pulled up loosely in a small ponytail. She was wearing a black short, like kind of like you would say mini skirt kind of thing, and a white blouse and black high heels because she was there for business when the guy came and hit her over the back of the head with a brick. So she didn't even see or know he was coming. She was just getting ice. He did, yeah. And I told you that vending machine. I mean, I described it. That vending machine was, remember those faux? They were like tan from like the 70s, 80s, and then they had that faux wood kind of over top where hit the button for ice.
After ice, okay. So I'm picking up the smoke machine, big square rectangular smoke machine that you can put money in and vend out the cigarettes.
Oh yeah, kind of like that kind of look, yeah. But it wasn't. It was the ice machine, kind of that same colors, but that faux wood where it was like just a sticker.
Well, it's kind of like walking into like an old 70s trailer or whatever where it has that fake paneling.
Well,
right.
Yep. It's vinyl paneling is what it is. Just an FYI, if you ever go to need to paint it, you have to sand the holy living shit out of it because it will not take paint.
I can't believe that they actually have a death chair in the hotel.
Death chair?
Okay, so do you remember the old-timey photos where they used to put someone in a chair that had died and then their family members would take pictures of them?
Yeah,
right.
That's what she was talking about earlier.
There's one in the hallway. Giant mirror on the top.
Oh, the mirror.
Yeah, the mirrored chair.
Oh, okay.
That is a death chair.
Put it in the chat.
Friend.
Yeah, I think I did see that.
Yeah,
I'm going to. This one might get me in trouble, but I'm going to do it.
Well, okay, don't put it in that. Put it in the Facebook one.
Friend.
Ugh. Creepy.
Uh-huh. You want to send it through the the Facebook, yeah. So we can see in the chat.
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
Death chair 101.
Well, so yeah, we went down to the desk, okay, the front desk. Oh. And yeah, I think I did see that. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, most people don't actually keep those. Most of them get destroyed.
That is freaky.
Because actually, that's also those were also used as commodes.
I was just gonna say they used that at that castle as a commode.
Yeah, they're used as it's used as one part of it's used as a commode. The other part of it's used as you sit with your loved one after they've died and they're all propped up. It's
wow.
Yeah, I don't know why they used to do that. Fran.
That is really
well, okay, they did it because it was the last image that the whole family would be together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was all they had. They may never have had any family portraits done because back then photography was insanely expensive. And there are a lot of times the original photography was done on glass. So, I mean, it was very specific.
Well,
or tin, done on tin. So it went from glass to tin and all of that. So, I mean,
There was also a big thing back then about photographs stealing your soul, and they couldn't steal your soul if you were already dead.
Well,
exactly.
But it's just too Weekend at Bernie's for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, hey, I got something to say, but I can't say it. No, it would be.
They wrapped the arms of the deceased up on the chair and held them up by doing another rope around the back through that small
Yep.
that middle part.
Yep.
And
Wow.
it looks like they were still upright.
Not always. Some of the
Not
people
always.
from the southern states used to get a little more entertaining than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
There-
don't. Entertaining is the right way to say that.
Yeah. Like there are pictures where the deceased person would have a rolled cigarette in one hand and a bottle of moonshine in the other.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
There's a few other things they do too, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Jeez.
Yeah, people are weird. People
are really weird. Yeah.
I figure to each their own. You do you, I do me. We're good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
And sometimes don't let me know about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are certain
I'm
things
pulling
that
that one.
I don't care if you have photos. I don't want to see them. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, with you. Okay, yeah. So we went down to the front desk, and then I asked, we asked permission to go down to the basement because it wasn't, like a normal place for people to go. More, it was like for employees. So the woman, her name was actually, I think her name was Missy. She was really nice, and she took us down. I told her like kind of what Erica showed me in the vision of her body being drugged down to this basement and where she was put until 4 a.m, and then drug out by this side door into the river. And she told me this made a lot of sense. She doesn't know about a lot of the missing people because that was before her, like some of it was before her time, but she kind of knew like kind of early 2000s, like 90s and 2000s up. But it sounded like it could have really happened from everything I described. So she took me down there and she showed me the storage room, pretty much. And as soon as she opened the door, I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, because I saw her body in the pretty much the corner and being drug out in that vision. So I knew exactly where it was. So when you listen to the podcast and I start talking to another person who comes through, which she says she's the 5th victim. Her name is so basically, yeah, Missy was the person who brought us down, the hotel clerk and the manager. The person who came through, her name was Shelby Martin. She was going to the bathroom downstairs in the basement during a meeting for work or a convention. And she was coming out of the bathroom when she was taken from behind. A hand was put over her from behind her mouth, and she was drugged backward. And she was pretty much, the guy started to try to strangle her. Instead of strangling her, though, he decided the fastest way was to snap her neck. So he snapped her neck and instantly killed her. She was wearing very similar clothing to what Erica was, too, because it was, again, a business, meeting. So she was wearing a skirt and a blouse. She had on some black shoes. She had actually, she was the only one who had brown hair. It was like brownish blonde hair. And she was the only victim that I talked to that did not have black hair. And she was taller. I remember that. But when I started talking to her, you can hear in the podcast as well, there is a door, like a metal, pretty much like those old metal kind of cabinet things. And it was wide open. And it started moving, like quiver, shuddering on its own. And I looked at Missy, the clerk, and I said, "Is that normal?" And she said, "Absolutely not." And I was like, "Oh wow." And so I had also my motion sensor ball that I had put down on this old table, and it was going off though, pretty much in unison with the questions that I was asking. And then I got told, to go around the corner, and I think Misty wanted to look around there too. And I was like, let's go around the corner. Around the corner is when I had the vision of the 7th victim. That was the one that really disturbed me a lot. The 7th victim was an old man. He was wearing a brown suit, which was confirmed by Missy that this man went missing. He had on a brown suit, brown shoes, a like button-down kind of shirt, and he had a brown hat. He had glasses. He was tall and very like thin, skinny, slender. I saw his body dragged down to the basement and left by the door on the right. Now this is a door that the bodies were dragged like out. Okay, so he left the victims there for hours during his shift, waiting for the middle of the night, usually that 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. to like kind of drag them out. So I saw his body being dragged down to the basement and left by that door. In the middle of the night, the killer comes downstairs. He opens the door and rams the dead victim's head into the door. And like he just jammed it, like the door right into it. And I don't know if it was like on purpose or without care, but that was horrible to see. And then he drug his body to the river. So when I said pretty much like in my notes, like when I got what I got from the old man, he was traveling alone. He had a wife that was deceased. I have a feeling he was probably visiting somebody or passing through town to go visit someone. He was by himself. That just then, when we moved into this older room where the employees used to use that room, where they had a bunch of lockers. Now, this is when another victim came through. Again, there was like boom, victim, image, just seeing it. Like I kind of see these things as like a little mini movie. As with my gift, and it was just like one after another. So I've never had this happen to me, but this other victim, his name was Ben.
I'm used to that.
Because usually I'm just asked about one person at a time. So
yeah,
that one was really rough.
Same here, but I'm used to. So she's not used to that. I'm used to that. And I'm also used to dealing with serial killers that do much more graphic things. So when you're not used to
that down too,
I know. And that's the reason why I'm saying something, because everybody has their different tolerance levels.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
When you're dealing with death and watching psychically somebody being unalive where it's already happened, and you're like a viewer, you're like a TV or a viewer, and you're viewing it. It's like in the first-hand experience, because you're either viewing it as an observer, or you're viewing it from the victim's point of view,
right? Yeah.
Or you're viewing it from the murderer's point of view. So as a psychic,
right,
if you're not used to dealing with that kind of stuff, it's a hell of a I'm here to say, Rosella did a fantastic job. I mean, as upset as you were, you did a truly fantastic job of getting your emotions through it and dealing with it, because it was not an easy thing for you. And I remember my first time when I got hit like that, it took me over a week just to come out of it, because it's a big deal on the emotions, especially when you're dealing with certain things, especially children. I mean, that is as a parent, those are the kind of things that do you in. And it's like, damn, why did you have to?
Why did you show me that?
And why the specifics? Well, a lot of times we're supposed to see those things to not only have validation from other people that may know the story, whereas we don't, because we go in blind. Rosella does what I do. I don't like going in knowing all this other stuff, because it pollutes the information that we are receiving.
Right.
Or it can play into it somehow, and it just gets really convoluted. But my point is that when you have that one after another, it can be really overwhelming because you're trying to digest as quickly as possible the information that you're receiving.
Right.
And
it's so shocking.
It is so shocking. Yes, it horrifying.
You can probably hear me in the podcast. I kind of shut down a few times, just not speaking. Yeah. And Missy, when Ben came through, and that after the old man, that was really horrible, of course. But then when Ben came through, I was purposely being like, they were purposely holding back images from me at that point, which I was glad for and still glad for. But that's when Misty looked at me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I was not." And it was just so overwhelming. And you want to help these people. And that's when Missy then said, the hotel clerk, she started feeling him actually, like the Ben, the victim, started trying. He said, "I'm touching you. I'm behind you. I'm like, I'm hugging you." And I told her right before the obelisk went off, you can hear me say, "He's behind you and he's on your, like, over your shoulder, touching your shoulder, your arm." And she says, "It's freezing." And that's when you hear the obelisk say, "Touching you now," or something like that. But it was very specific. That one was really hard, but she did validate that this guy did go missing and the year was correct. The old man in that year, both of those years and the descriptions of those victims, she validated that did happen to them.
What's the old man's name?
So the old man never gave me his name. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And, I like Shelby, I can't believe she actually gave me her name because she didn't stick around that long. Mm-hmm. Erica came down for a second, but because she told me she would not come down, but she did, I think, to protect us.
George or Sebastian?
I would agree with George.
I keep getting Sebastian, and I don't know why. That's not, but George. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I got George, and then I heard Sebastian, and then Sebastian over and over just now.
Well, yeah, that doesn't, yeah, so that George resonates. He did look like a George, too. You know how you look at people and you're like, "Oh, well, you look like a Kent," or something. But yeah, so this victim, he says his name was Ben. He was born in 1952. He showed me that he was killed, but he did not show me how. Again, I think that was kept from me on purpose. He showed me that he was put in the freezer. Okay, so did not know what happened after that, but he was killed in 92. However, as I kind of looked into it, even the next night and talking to Nikki, she was validating to me too the same things. He told me later on that the restaurant was closed down for painting and renovation for a month and a half. That restaurant, the same restaurant me and Misty ate in. And he was put into that freezer because he knew, like, the killer knew that nobody was using the freezer because the restaurant was shut down. So he had, probably more time. The last victim was the worst. This was a toddler. I saw a toddler child picking dandelions right outside by where we actually had our car parked. So the parking lot that, like, rounded down into the river. He was 4 years old. There was no parent in my vision, and he was taken by this killer in broad daylight, guys. This was broad daylight. Yeah. That was the only time that was, like, brazen. Actually daylight.
Actually brazen. That is really brazen. It takes a serious amount of balls to do that.
So terrible.
God.
And that's right where my car was. Like, my car was freaking parked right next to this. Right when I was getting this information, we were right by that back door where their bodies were taken out. It was just so shocking. But then I asked Missy, the hotel clerk, like I said, "Who drowned in the shower?" Getting something about a shower. She says, "Nobody that I know, but there was a woman who experienced a hair incident." Now, this is where it gets interesting, and this is why the third floor is known to be haunted. And there's like 2 or 3 rooms that are specifically haunted. And if you look it up, Cole, you'll find it. Okay. You'll look up the rooms. I think it was 214 and it was like 212 or 214 or 214 and 218. I believe it's 214 and 218. Okay, so this is the experience. It's pretty weird, guys. Okay. There was a woman taking a shower who experienced dark black hair suddenly falling from the ceiling as if it was falling pretty much from nowhere, she described. When she was in the shower, she started screaming, and her husband came in and he saw it. So the husband called the maintenance people. The maintenance people came in and cleaned up the hair, which they reported an obscene amount of black hair all over the entire room and the shower especially. Okay. They cleaned it up, and that night they went out for dinner. The husband and wife came back. The husband got in the shower, same experience. It was just crazy, and they don't know why, what happened. It's never happened again. But that kind of describes when I said who drowned in the shower. I'm getting the word drowning. I mean, it makes sense. Drowned in this black hair. But remember what I said. This killer, he killed people, women who had the same stereotype. They were dressed in a business professional outfit. They were always in skirts, like kind of nice dress, black shoes, right? Nice blouse with black hair. Black hair.
Yeah, he had a type.
Yeah. And when I talked to Nikki too, and we can talk about that after I'll go through the rest of my notes, but then like she did validate specifically stuff about that black hair. But so then this is weird. We went down to the basement, this hallway. She said, well, this is like another place we have some storage, and we get a lot of weird noises. We'll come in here and the furniture will be moved around. Okay. So we went down this long hallway to the basement towards the storage room, and she said there's normally a lot of activity here, and they used to have tunnels, underground tunnels, speakeasy kind of stuff like that went through underneath the city. She says, like, the captain appears in here at the end of the hallway a lot with a hat and smoking something, and I did see then when we came out of the storage room, I felt nothing in the storage room. And she said she hadn't had a lot of activity in there for quite a while. We came out of the storage room. At the very end of the hall, there's this guy. He's dressed, he had like gray hair, and he was dressed in this captain's like whole suit. I'm talking head to toe, hat and everything. With he was smoking kind of like a pipe. And I described it to her, and she goes, "Yep, that's exactly what people see. Usually around this hallway, kind of thing." She said that's the original owner. Now, this is the weird part. There was this door, like, like a submarine hatch kind of door that you would use, like just a pass-through door. It was just hanging on this wall next to the storage room. Very oddity kind of thing to do. And so their story was, we don't know where this came from. I saw that he told me this door is newly painted because it was painted tan. He was very mad that it was painted tan because he was like, why is it tan? Why is it painted? Why is it painted? And I'm like, well, he just keeps telling me that it was never painted before. It just was a big metal door. Looked metal, not painted. And she was like, well, that makes sense because, when they like redid some stuff down in the basement, you could tell from this flood that they probably repainted it because it floods there all the time. So, and he showed, like, he pretty much showed me money and said that he paid for the upgrades of the hotel. He said that he's the one who upgraded the hotel. There was an addition put on, which we were staying in on that third floor. So around the corner, that room 314, 318, I think, where these paranormal experiences had happened, was around the corner from me. Technically, that was in this other building. So we were the add-on, that part. And that was added on around that kind of late 70s where Erica was killed, right? But he was telling me I'm the one who did these renovations. It was his pride and joy. He was telling me that he roams around just checking up on people, kind of thing. So that's what he said to me. So, and then Missy, the general clerk, she told us, like, basically that there was a bathroom incident that she had. Now, this is insane. I'm sorry. You haven't been shocked now. Hold on to your damn hats and sit the hell down. This is insane. So you know what's coming, Nick. So she was in the bathroom this is outside where the second victim that came through that shook the cabinet was telling me, who her name was Shelly Martin. She was telling me that she went into this bathroom, was coming out of this bathroom, right? And the guy killed her, right? He took her from behind and snapped her neck. All right. So this is the same bathroom that Missy, the clerk, is coming out of. And she said that this is about a year ago. Now, she was washing her hands, and there, when you wash your hands in a public bathroom, there's a mirror right in front of you, right? She was washing her hands, and she said, out of the middle of this mirror, that a humongous roach, bigger than her hand, literally came out of the mirror, in the middle of the mirror, dropped to the floor, and died within a few seconds. Just came out, boom, hit the floor, and then died. And she said that she ran, and she had to go get somebody and tell them what happened to help her go clean it up. Because she was obviously terrified out of her wits.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I found out later on Sunday that she took a whole year off. And this was her just coming back to the hotel. She'd only been back to the hotel for 2 weeks when this happened, that she took us down, downstairs. She went with us and told me. So because of that incident, she literally took a huge leave of absence. So that's how much it scared her, guys. Kayla, I'm waiting for your remarks. Where is it, Kayla?
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
Nope.
That scared the shit out of me.
I like roaches.
Oh, God.
I think they're kind of cute.
What?
That would be a.
What, Robert?
I said that would be a hello from the other side.
See, I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I'm waiting for like a drop dead moment here. I mean, that scared the hell of shit out of me. I told Nikki, she was like, what the?
Yep.
See,
I
I
was
don't
like,
know.
holy shit.
Like, something like that wouldn't have
tell her
bothered
yet that
me.
happened.
Like, because it's just a bug. Like, if
But
it had
no,
been...
it's
But
a
like-
bug that came out of the mirror, not the window, out of the mirror.
Yeah.
It came out of, it literally
Out of a
walked
mirror.
through.
Oh, I thought you said
the
it came
mirror,
from, like,
out of a-
behind the mirror. Like,
No. It
Oh.
came out of
Out
the
of the
middle of the
middle
freaking
of the
mirror.
mirror.
oh,
And
okay.
then dropped to the floor and died within a few seconds.
Okay,
It
yeah,
came
that would have
out
been
of
a
a
little more
portal.
terrifying. Okay, I'm sorry. As far as I was reading on this, like what you were saying, I saw that it was like a hanging mirror, and it came like around the side and out of the side of the mirror. Do you like?
Okay, no.
Okay,
It was
so
like-
if
yeah.
it's coming out of the middle of the fucking mirror, yes, that
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
terrifying. That would be terrifying.
Yes. And so she said that she thought it lived for less than a minute, that she thought that it was a few seconds, but time seems so fast when you're terrified as hell too, right? So yeah.
So,
But she had to find somebody to go help her clean it up. She said it was bigger than her hand.
so it was a mirror realm roach that came out.
Yes.
Yep.
And died because it can't be in this realm. Ew.
I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie, that probably wouldn't scare me.
The hell? What?
But if it talked to me, there would be hooping and hollering in that bathroom, because I'd be fucking
Lord.
rich.
I tell you, I don't think a horror movie writer could write this. This is so horrible. I'm
You
like,
got
what?
your own Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, I'd be so excited.
Oh
Man.
my God. Well, wouldn't live very. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't
Okay.
live very long because he'd be so depressed by all my problems that he'd just end his own life. Like, he'd be like, I
Oh
can't
my
do
God.
this.
I wonder if you put it in like a mirror-lined box, if it would live.
It was this crazy guy. I don't know. It was so nuts. Okay, so that's crazy enough. This is the first night only. The first night. Okay, so the second night is when I did text like Nikki the second night. Because I couldn't get over the first night too, and then more stuff was happening. So, like I will say, when I went to bed the first night, there was a spirit. I woke up to a spirit, a shadow person, of a man peeking around the corner. And I didn't feel it was like ominous or bad or anything like that. I felt like it was just somebody like kind of like, just watching me, maybe even protecting, but I couldn't be sure because I was still terrified out of my mind from everything I just like heard, experienced, saw. So I just got up and said like, you need to get out of the room, kind of like banished it outside the door. And it left pretty quick. So then I was okay. The second night, we went to the 5th floor and did have a very ominous spirit, like something that wanted to be, like, I don't know what I want to say, be evil, but it did act in an evil essence. So it pretended to be somebody it wasn't, and it pretended to be the serial killer that I had seen from the visions the night before. What I will say with these things, and I know that Nikki will definitely chime in and say, they know, like, okay, this is what you just experienced the night before, and this is who you interacted with, and this is what you saw, so now I'm going to mimic you if they're, they feel like that's what they'll do. And this is what this guy tried to do, but I'm like, I know you're not the same person. So we went to the 5th floor, and this spirit like started acting pretty bad. So right from the start, we felt a very bad feeling right away. A feeling of not nice, very obnoxious, snide, just because I can, I will kind of attitude. He said he was a male. Eventually, he said that his name was Ralph. He said he was pretending, like he eventually, told me he was pretending to be the killer. But before that, he said that 5 people had died on that floor, which is the rumor. So I did hear that when we were sitting in the restaurant that night before. 5 people died on that floor. He said that the rooms that were haunted by the spirits to this day were 205 and 214. So, not 205. So, sorry, 505 and 514, where the spirits who were the victims of the murder still resided, that did not cross over. He said on the way down to the 3rd floor, he said that he was going to follow us to the 3rd floor if we went back to the 3rd floor. We went around and this is where the what do you call it? Like the penthouses. That's what the word. So the penthouses, kind of really nice rooms, were all on that 5th floor, where I heard that 5 murders had taken place, but I wasn't sure if it was a rumor, what it was. But I only felt this spirit that was there. I will say I didn't feel anybody else. I stood outside these doors he described, didn't feel anything. And so I kind of was like, this thing's messing with us. So we talked about going back to the 3rd floor where where our room was. And Misty wanted to stand outside of the other haunted rooms where the hair thing had happened to see if we could feel or pick up anything. So we started to go down in the elevator, okay? When we went down to the elevator, this is like on the way down to the 3rd floor, it seemed to try to follow us. Then it found out, when we found out, it was pretty much 10 to 20 minutes later that it was a person who was older who died there from a heart attack. So when I got to the 3rd floor, I found out that this man had died from really a heart attack, but was pretending to be the killer because he's probably bored or something. But he still was being kind of nasty, and he kept trying to kind of come through a few times. Now, on the 3rd floor, we went to where the vending machines was. Now, this would be where Erica got killed, okay? We went to that vending machine area, and it was like kind of like a little mini room. And another victim was brought forward to us through Erica. So Erica came through to us, and she came through on the Ovilus. She came through to me, and kind of like coinciding with the Ovilus when she was saying to me, she showed me this woman named Brittany. She also showed me that she had black hair, very pale skin, same as the other victims, and was a victim of the same murder. She did say that at the pretty much like the end of talking to me, that Erica and her seem to keep each other company in the hotel. They go back and forth like around the hotel, keeping each other company, and they are really good friends. They also did say they both knew Shelley Martin, who was the other victim who came through, who was shaking the cabinets in the basement. So this is the crazy thing. We decided to go down to the ballroom because that is where we knew there was a picture of the captain, like the guy who called himself the captain, who I saw in the basement, right? He was mad that the door was painted, right? And he was the one who did the upgrades. So I went to the ballroom, and this is where the crazy stuff started happening too. Outside the ballroom was where his picture was hanging, and I was on the podcast saying, hey, this is his picture. This is what he looks like. This is where you can find it if you're ever here, that kind of thing. Okay. So we went down, and we pushed the elevator. Like when we went into the elevator, we pushed the lobby button twice to go down. And this is weird. The fire alarm bell turned on. The fire alarm bell. It just was like, like, and we didn't, like, Misty even saw me push the lobby button, which is just one L, just for lobby, pushed it. And I pushed it twice. She saw me push it twice. And the bell for the emergency bell is not even near it. So it's like all the way down at the bottom towards the other, like the whole other corner. And I'm like, what the, huh? And then it did, though, take us down. Like it went off, but it took us down to the lobby at the same time. It was really strange. So we were like, okay, that's strange that the elevator kind of did that and still took us down to the lobby. Nobody came onto a speaker, said, is this emergency? Nothing like that. It's kind of weird. And when we got down to the lobby, there was tons of people who were sitting around drinking after an event and didn't even act like hear that the emergency button hadn't even kind of gone off and rung, and it was pretty loud. So that was a little strange. So we went down to the ballroom, and then another ominous spirit came through. And when we were talking to the past owner, his name is Mr. Hogue, who was the captain guy who renovated the hotel in the 70s. And he was the one who was like doing the protection of the hotel. He warned us that this was that was not a very good spirit who was coming through, and it kept calling itself Alice. So if you guys have heard my stuff before in the past, there's a bad spirit for the past few years who haunted our friend Amy, who always called itself Alice. And I think because, again, see, they know who you talk to, they know what triggers you and what scares you. It picked it up, I think, in Misty's Ovilus, and then started to try to scare us. So immediately I just shut it down. I'm like, I'm not listening to you. I know you're just trying to be evil. Bug off, told it really off pretty good a few times. And then a man suddenly came in named Robert, and he was saying he was a victim. So he said, I'm just like Erica. I'm a victim. And then I disappeared and had the same kind of things happen to me. He was talking to me. Mr. Hogue, the original owner, was talking to me. And the bad spirit was there, kind of looming. And then all of a sudden, boom, dead. Like nothing ever happened. Just Ovilus, everything. I was like, nobody's here. That's really weird. Everyone just disappeared and went away. So we were like, well, that's kind of strange. So I said to Misty, okay, well, maybe this is like, omen or something, or a sign. We're supposed to go upstairs and kind of be done. Because now it was like 11 o'clock. And we had to get up early the next day and go to this other house, actually, and then drive home. So I was like, let's go. So we got on the elevator, and I pushed the third floor 3 times. Because the thing doesn't light up. You know how you push a elevator button and it will light up, and then you're like, oh, okay, it is acknowledging that it's pushed and we're gonna go, right? So it wouldn't light up because I think all the lights were broken. It's so old. So I made sure that I pushed it 3 times just so it would go. This is when the creepy crazy thing happened. So it started to take us down to the basement. So when we were on that 5th floor, remember that ominous ghost that was like pretending to be the serial killer? He started saying that he was going to follow us to the 3rd floor. He actually also came through the Ovilus and said, basement, basement, fear, fear. So we were like freaking out that we thought he probably took over the the elevator. We went down to the basement, and I'm telling you, sure as shit, I was like, I'm gonna see something jump out as soon as these doors open, like in my mind's eye or something. Like I saw a killer clown kind of seal. Like I'm like I am gonna experience like the most horrible, horrific thing that only, of course, I can see that will haunt me for the rest of my life. And Misty will see nothing. But she was even freaking out. So I was turning away and kept pushing 333, and I'm trying not to see with my just see out there, to see it in my mind's eye and see it even physically appear if it would.
You guys.
So bad. And then Misty and I mean, I'm screaming and pushing it. And I'm like, no, like, Colin, you're not doing this to me. And then Misty is like, I think she was screaming also, but she started pushing the button too, like the door close button. So she pushed the door close button, and eventually the doors closed. And then it went up to the lobby, and then we pushed 3 again, and it went up to the 3rd floor. But it was like, I was freaking terrified. I'm like, this is gonna be the moment where I see something jump out, and I'll never forget this for the rest of my life, as if the visions were not bad enough. So that's when I came into the hotel room, and I was like, I am calling Nikki or texting Nikki. I need validation
And
now.
she did.
And we were on there like for probably 2 hours. Finally, I was like, girl, I'm so tired. She made me feel like validated, and it's like, okay, you're getting this. And the more she said, the more I got. And I was like, I feel better.
Well,
and somebody else is getting it, you know?
Between the two of us, we got a lot of information.
We really did. And then Misty started looking things up that we were both
saying. And then
saying.
she started verifying it all.
She did.
It was really cool. She was able to verify everything that we were saying.
I mean, I couldn't get
and
her
then
to
the
stop
following
looking it up.
the following day, she verified even more information. It was really cool.
She did. So, like, this bad thing about it is, I'm like, Mist, you got to get off to stop looking it up, because you're going to be like me the night before. I couldn't sleep, you know? And she's like, oh, I'll be fine. She was not. She was up all night. So, like, 4 o'clock in the morning.
I knew it.
Because I think I got off the thing with you at like almost 1 o'clock or something. Mm-hmm. And it was late my time, right, in Ohio. Well, I took, I'm going to be honest, guys, I had my Xanax with me for these occasions, and I took a Xanax so I could sleep. Missy was so terrified she couldn't sleep. So 4 a.m., I woke up, and because I had to go to the bathroom. I just put my feet on the floor, and it was like she was grabbing a knife and trying to kill me. Because we had these twin beds kind of thing. So she was right across from me, and she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she like looked like she was grabbing something to hurl it at me. And I'm like, it's me, you know? And she's like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm like, I told you to stop looking up stuff. And she's like, so she was validating all this stuff all night and seeing all these horrible things. But she really, she found a picture of this guy, and he was 60 when they transferred him. Oh, I didn't tell you that part?
Right. I forgot. No, you had talked
about it.
I think I did. Yeah, okay, you talked about it. I just completely forgot about it.
Yeah, he was like 63 when they captured him and admitted to a death. Exactly the same description as pretty much Erica and Shelby. It was the same. And he admitted to killing other people, but he wouldn't say who, right? Mm-hmm. And it was literally in Marietta. So he had killed tons of people within like a 15-mile radius to 20-mile radius up the river. So he was dumping the bodies in the river, and he dumped the one girl's body that he was caught for in the river. It was crazy. So yeah, the next day, like, we woke up and she's like pretty much still validating. Misty was validating stuff with Nikki, and we're still texting each other a little bit in the morning. And then we went to this neat plantation. So it was called the Harrison Plantation, and it was in West Virginia, right across the bridge. Very historical place. And I didn't get anything there either, I will say. I saw memories of the past. Of course, a lot of death. Sadly, these people had 11 children and only 2 survived, and then 1 died when he was like 21. I think he died when he was 21. Got a really horrible illness, I think, from the water. You know, this is during like kind of that Civil War-ish time. He was discharged because of his illness. Came home for Christmas, and then he got tasked with decorating their ballroom for a ball, and he died while doing it. So they sealed up the ballroom, and literally to this day, the stuff that he hung is still hanging there. All these years later, like 200 years later.
Jesus.
It's really crazy. That was like the kind of a creepy part. But because it was real wreaths. Like, I mean, they had it was real from the trees that they made these wreaths out of, right? But yeah, like the history was just really interesting. But I actually did not feel good that day. And I think I had just low blood sugar. I don't think it was paranormal. I just had to eat. So we went pretty much down the street. I had food, and that was totally fine, normal. And drove home. We were good. Yeah,
it affects your electrolytes, folks. When you're doing energy work and psychic work, it literally affects the brain. You use up more protein in your brain, and you need to replace that protein by eating high protein things, and you need to not just replenish water, but replenish electrolytes. This is a big deal.
Speaking of that, so the restaurant had a buffet, and because good old Rosella is intolerant to everything and could not eat carbs, I was like, I can't have anything because everything was carbs. And I was like, I got told, like the other side was like, you really need to eat eggs. You need to. So the morning before that, you could order breakfast, anything you kind of wanted from their menu. They didn't have it that day. So I was driving kind of like, pushing the cart out to our car, and I almost tanked. I really almost blacked out. And I had yogurt, berries, and I had like a few bites of cheese that I just had left like in the cooler for our trip. And I was like, I just ate. That's like, I've had like, sugars and stuff, like natural sugars, but it just was not enough. So I got a big piece of chicken and a salad, and I was cool, and I drove home, not a problem. But she's right. You need to have, I always have to have eggs the next morning, or I will feel terrible. Like eggs and then electrolytes, and electrolyte like drink. I'll kind of do that whole shake your water kind of drink thing and do that. And I'm usually fine. So if anybody's listening to, if you're doing this kind of stuff, really lots of protein and electrolytes and like sugars in the morning, because that almost took me out a little bit. So, and I was feeling fine before that. It was kind of weird. But yeah, that's our trip in a nutshell. I mean, if you can call it a nutshell, it was insane.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad that Nikki answered me right away, because I was like, I kept saying I gotta talk to Nikki. I have to.
Well, it was interesting.
You sure?
It was interesting on my part because I don't normally have my phone around me all night every night, and so the fact that I even had it around me when the text came in, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, they told me you would answer. So I was like, okay. I'm a texting. Yeah, I was like, they're telling me she'll text me right away. I need to know now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt the urgency, believe me. It was like, holy shit, what was going on with you guys? And that I stopped everything I was doing because I could feel Rosella's energy. And I was holy shit.
You know what?
I was up on that mess.
I was concerned.
I used to be so good at like people phoning me. Like second ring every time.
Whoa.
And I started doing this show.
Markers.
Well, no, I started doing this show. And now I put my phone on silent, and I forget every week to turn it back on.
Oh.
So, like,
I don't feel special.
It'll sit in my pocket, and you can call me. and I'll see it 2 days later. Like,
it's funny. I feel like that's almost a male thing. No offense, but my husband does that same thing. He'll turn his phone on silent.
No.
Well, mine's on silent, but I'm constantly on and off my phone all the time because I do everything with it. So,
Yeah, but I don't look at my notifications because they're annoying.
Yeah, I silence my notifications.
I have so much crap. It's like, even today, so I was doing this reading party, I got like 11 messages during that entire day. So people were so afraid. They were like, are you okay? I hope you're okay. I hope you're alive. And I'm like, I never have my phone off, because if I let them pile up like that, like, unless I'm sleeping, I always turn it on sleep mode, like when I'm sleeping, or like napping kind of thing. So then I'm not feeling well if I'm napping during the day, because that doesn't happen. But she was like, this is not normal. But if I let them stack up those messages like that, between Facebook Messenger, actual texting, calls, oh my God. And you don't even have time to check your damn emails. And I have 2. So I just would not be able to do it. Or you're describing, Cole, I'd go insane.
Yeah. So,
I used to have 10 emails, so, Well, no, as an advocate, everybody had their own email and they wanted it through me and me checking it. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And they're like, no. And it was for safety. It was for security purposes. It was because I dealt with things differently. I'd do a printout. I'd take it over to the people if they lived nearby, or I'd read it to them over the phone. They'd tell me exactly what they'd want in response. And this was business as an advocate. I mean, I wasn't doing this this is all volunteerism stuff. And so, most of it was high security stuff for them. Yeah, and that was back in the 90s and early 2000s. So, I mean, it was a lot to deal with, but there were a lot of people in need, and you just had to do. So, it's a different ballgame nowadays.
Have you guys hit that point where you have to buy more Google Cloud storage yet?
No.
I'm expecting to hit that point soon, that my husband will tell me that.
So I just hit it about 6 months ago. And now this week my dad hit it. And I had to ask him, like, how many emails do you have? Because he said, there's no way I have that much information on my computer. I asked him how many emails he had. And he said, like 10,000 on red. And I'm like, well, that's what it is. But you can only delete 30 at a time. And there's no other way to delete them. So you just have to sit there and do it over and over and over again.
Well, that's not what's going on my phone. My phone has got 25,000 screenshots.
Yeah.
So I've been going through
screenshots
and getting, but mine is, I can't say what mine's for, but
you don't
I do mine for a wide range of reasons, and so I've been 500 at a time.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to save as much as I possibly can for a large range of reasons, because I will not use cloud in any way. No,
I don't like to.
To me, that is, once it's up there, it is always up there. And you can never get rid of it. And that is extremely disturbing to me, let alone the fact that if you are a victim of anything, it is too easy for authorities to gain access to that. And so I have my stuff on, actually I have to enter my home to access it. Mine's on all flash drives, and they're secure. Most of them are secure.
I feel like I should tell you, though, that you do actually use cloud, even though you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the only thing that I use is Google.
Yeah,
with
and
this
the Google Cloud, all of your emails are stored in Google Cloud automatically.
Yeah, that's fine, because I don't have hardly anything anymore because of what that works.
You don't have to say,
But after my conversation with my dad, I had to go look at mine. Because if you do it on your phone, you can't see how many emails you actually have. It just says 99 plus.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I looked on the computer.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Over 500,000.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if it was over 500.
Well, and now the people aren't emailing me as much. Like, I go through phases, I swear, with my business where people will really email me instead of texting me. And now I tell people all the time on my social media stuff, like, please just text me. It's easier, or if I give my card out, because I had a problem where a lot of my emails, my Rosella email stuff, like any kind of author setup, event, reading, whatever, it's going to my junk automatically. And the weird thing is, this happened right in front of my face. Like this woman, she texted me, "You haven't responded to me, so just making sure you got my email." I went into my email, and my husband was driving the car, so it's not like I was driving or anything. I didn't touch anything. I just went into my email. I saw her email in the junk, and then I literally saw it disappear in front of my face. I had touched nothing. It disappeared. I could never retrieve it. I couldn't find it. I mean, still to this day, sometimes I'm like, try to find it. Just like, why did that happen? How did that happen? And my husband was like, did you touch anything? I'm like, I didn't do anything. You know, I'm sitting right next to you. You saw, you know, that I said that I saw it in front of my face. It disappeared.
Well,
it was like a ghost. This not very long, like 2 months, maybe 2 months ago.
Okay, so Gmail now uses an AI to identify.
Well, I don't have Gmail. I have Yahoo.
Yahoo is owned by email or Gmail.
Oh.
They're owned by Google now.
Okay. All right.
So, but they have AI that identifies broken emails.
Broken? What do you mean?
So, emails that can actually hurt your computer.
Oh, okay.
They identify them, and it wouldn't be the sender's fault. Because whenever you send an email, it goes through a few different channels, and someone could have added something onto it during it.
Oh.
So
weird,
they use an AI that identifies that. Yeah, like emails that I have had that were important, like from the tribe and stuff, I had to have them to resend because they did, when they showed up, they just disappeared.
It's so weird. Like, yeah, because, and then another person had not exactly the same experience, but it went to junk. Automatically went to junk, and then I saw the email, and then I went to go to reply to the email like an hour later, and it was gone.
Yeah, see, and if they identify it as too harmful for you to actually even look at the preview, they just get rid of it for you.
And it's so weird because people are just like, this is my name, contact me, I'm reading. That's all they say. So it's not like threatening or anything, you know?
Yep.
It's kind of weird. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
No, and it's usually just something that like some jackass has added onto you the email, like a small piece of malware.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're just trying to help protect you. So, but we're almost at the end. Rosella, where can we find the podcast? Okay, so if you type in, and it's on Spotify too, Podcaster. It used to be on Anchor FM, but I know they switched everything kind of over to Podcaster. But I think it's on a lot of different medias that I'm sure I'm not aware about. But just type in A Haunting Good Time Radio Show. Okay. And it comes right up. Also, if you go to my Rosella C. Rao author page, or A Haunting Good Time, that in Facebook, either one of those things, I have videos there. Like, they were so active about things that happened that I had to make videos. And now I just remembered, Nikki, you should have said something to me. I just remembered that I did not talk about a haunted mansion that we went to, that we had a lot of activity. So that was on there too. We went to so many places, it's so hard to keep track. But that's also why I did these videos in between. But Nikki, validated 2 things from the past owner as well. That even had to do with stuff with my author things, because the man also wrote, and then a famous author grew up in this house. It was a haunted mansion. So it's called the Anchorage House because the driveway used to be shaped like an anchor. But now it's really run down.
So it's a very different perspective from what it was to what it is now. And the ghost kind of walks me through what it used to look like. And that they did have slaves. They called them servants there, but they were like pretty much black slaves that they called themselves that. And then they turned, as kind of the time went on, they called themselves white. So it's really interesting how you can see the errors in the times and all the history change. But if you go to those 2 pages, you will find all of those videos and my podcast, even my blog articles. I have a new blog article, my haunted travel blog, where I'm going to write all this down too. That is coming out every first of the month. There's going to be a new article. So it's busy. It's always busy. And then I have my Readings by Rosella page. If you're interested ever in my psychic stuff and want a reading, or just have a daily general reading, that might be for you. It's all free.
Perfect.
So, yeah. Thank you.
And Nikki, where can we find Restore Belief?
Restore Belief with Nikki is on YouTube. I was just about to say Reddit. I keep doing that. Man, apparently I need to be on Reddit because I keep saying it. I'm on Rumble. So I just don't promote Rumble very often. But anyway, that one's Angels Are Life is on Rumble. But the YouTube is Restore Belief with Nikki. It's the only one with that title. That's where you can find me there. I'm also on Facebook, so it's facebook.com/Nikki, Nikki, Jacobs, JACOBS .376. And that will lead you into my psychic page as well. So, okay. And as everybody knows, on my Facebook page, I post a lot of information, both publicly and privately. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for 2 very entertaining shows, make sure you check both those out. Nikki has been going a little off the cuff lately, I'm going to say.
Phenomenal.
A little off cuff?
I think that was a nice way to say it.
Putting the truth out there, one punch at a time.
To say the least.
Well, let's just.
And guess what? I could name full names now.
Yeah, if you're a 3-letter agency, stay away.
Yeah, I had 3 of them in here in my apartment in the last 24 hours.
Bastards. Oh, I mean.
Friend.
And the one still smells like cat litter.
Ew.
She's a professional businesswoman, and
oh god, I thought you were gonna say a professional pussy trainer.
Oh my god. Wow. Okay, it's 3 a.m. here, so I can have an excuse. I don't know.
Train your cat to squirt. Mm.
I needed that, Kayla. Thank you.
You are
my god.
Anyway, she's a professional businesswoman. Wears flats or high heels or pumps and short skirts or long pants or whatever, and she's dressed up professionally usually when she shows up, but she smells of cat litter. She never
have black hair?
She never dark hair, but not black. Anyway, but she never I can tell you her first name, I can tell you where she lives. I don't have an address. Somebody told me today, was like, why are you putting that out there? Because I want them to fucking stop.
Leave you
and
alone.
It's interesting because anytime I start mentioning what city and what state these people live in,
you get malfunctions.
They stop. They'll stop for about 2 weeks. And I'm like, what's it going to take? Do I actually have to put out an address?
That'd help.
Yeah, it gets rather interesting on my show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Cole, I was going to say, too, if you wanted me to talk about the Anchorage and Marietta, that haunted house, that was a separate show, too. We could do that next week if you wanted to do something like that, because that was an adventure in itself, too. I sent Nikki everything so she could hear it, too, because it was off the wall, wasn't it? And there was an evil spirit in the attic that was trying to, mimic and pretend kind of thing like that. And, Misty just would not leave. And I'm like, we're leaving now. Like, stop.
Well, and I had also told you got to be careful with that one spirit because she liked you and she liked you a lot and she wanted to follow you around.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, she was
girl?
like, no, it was a woman.
She pretended, at the Anchorage, it pretended to be a little girl. And
That's right.
you remember that, and that was the evil one in the attic.
Yeah.
That you were like, it is not a little girl. It is pretending to be, and it's something else. So, and I was like, see, Misty, told you.
I'd forgotten about that until you said it, but
it was such
you had one that just absolutely, it was the female, and she absolutely loved you to pieces. She thought you were just bomb, basically, and she wanted to follow you around. And she was the one where you had to tell her, "You're not going to come into my hotel room."
Yeah, like you stay out here.
That's a no.
All right, guys.
Listen.
Anyway,
on that note,
yeah,
we do have to go. Join us every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please like and subscribe to the show. Tell your friends. To like and subscribe, not to screw off or anything. That's not nice.
We are not boring. We will not be boring to you. We promise.
No, it's never boring.
Never boring.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening, and to you guys, thank you for being on the show again, as always.
You're welcome.
No, not
You're so
you.
welcome.
Not you. You hardly even said anything. The hell's wrong with you?
I got my one jab in for the day. We're good.
She did.
All right, everybody. Have a good night and have a good week.
Thank you.
Next time.
Night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Data transfer complete. System malfunction. Please evacuate immediately. Program terminated.
Son of a biscuit eater.